You open Instagram, someone your age just bought a house, someone from your school is traveling in Europe, someone you know got promoted, and you're just sitting there, scrolling. And suddenly, without even meaning to, you feel it. That quiet, heavy feeling, like you're behind, like you're not enough, like everyone else figured something out that you didn't. Sound familiar? Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Easy English Space, everybody. Oh, it's so good to have you here today. Honestly, every time I start recording, I think, wow, people actually come back. That still makes me so happy. So welcome. Whether you're new here or you've been with us for a while, we're really glad you showed up today.
We genuinely are. And today's topic, Julia, I feel like this one's gonna hit people.
Oh, it's going to hit people, Henry. It's going to hit them right here, right in the chest. Because today we're talking about comparison. Why comparing yourself to other people makes you upset. And not just a little upset, like deeply, quietly, sometimes secretly upset.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, nobody really talks about this honestly. Most people just say, stop comparing yourself, and walk away like that's helpful advice.
Stop comparing yourself. Problem solved. Goodbye.
Exactly. Like, okay, thank you. Very useful. Super useful. I'll just stop feeling human then.
Right? Because here's the thing. Comparison is so natural. It happens automatically. You don't choose to feel it. It just arrives. And that's what makes it so confusing. You feel bad, and then you feel bad about feeling bad.
That's such a good point. It's like a double layer of discomfort. First, you compare, then you judge yourself for comparing, and now you're exhausted.
Okay, so before we go deeper, let me ask you something, listener. When was the last time you compared yourself to someone and felt worse after? Think about it. Was it on social media? Was it at work? At school? With family? Write it in the comments below. Just one sentence. I want to know.
Yeah, because I think the answer is going to be really recent for most people, like probably today.
Probably this morning.
Yeah, before breakfast even.
So, Henry, let me ask you this. Why do we even compare ourselves to others? Like, where does it come from?
Okay, so this is actually really interesting. Comparison is old. It's ancient. Our brains were designed to look around and check, am I doing okay compared to the group? Because thousands of years ago, if you were falling behind the group, that was dangerous. You could get left behind. You could get hurt.
Oh, wow. So it was a survival tool.
Exactly. It was helpful. It kept you safe. But now the group is 7 billion people on the internet, and your brain is still doing the same ancient check, and it's overwhelmed.
That's actually kind of sad. Like our brain is trying to protect us, but it's using the wrong map.
The wrong map. I like that. Yeah, it's using a map from 10,000 years ago to navigate a world it was never built for.
Okay, listeners, let's do a quick English practice moment here. Henry just said something really useful. He said comparison is like using the wrong map. That's a metaphor. A metaphor is when you describe something by comparing it to something else. Can you think of another metaphor for comparison? Like, comparison is like blank. Write it in the comments. I'd love to read them.
Ooh, that's a good exercise. Okay, I'll give mine. Comparison is like looking at someone else's highlight reel and comparing it to your behind the scenes.
Oh, that one's good. That one's really good, actually. Because social media is highlight reel, right? Everyone posts their best moments. Nobody posts the bad days. Nobody posts the I cried in the bathroom at work moments.
Nobody's posting that.
Nobody. So you're seeing someone's best and comparing it to your everything. And that's not fair to you.
It's genuinely not fair. And I think a lot of people know this intellectually, like they know social media isn't real life. But knowing something and feeling it are two very different things.
Say that again, Henry. That's important.
Knowing something and feeling it are two very different things. You can know a fire is hot and still get burned. You can know comparison isn't fair and still feel crushed by it.
Okay, listeners, I want you to repeat this sentence with me. Say it out loud, seriously. It'll help it stick. Say, I know this, but knowing is not the same as feeling. Go ahead, say it. Even if you're on the bus, even if people look at you weird, it's fine.
Yeah, especially if people look at you weird. That's how you know it's working.
Okay, so I want to share a little story. Is that okay?
Please, yes.
So, a few years ago, I had a friend. We were really close. Same age, started careers around the same time. And then one day, she got this big promotion, big salary. Her photos started changing, nicer restaurants, a new apartment. She looked amazing, happy, put together. And I remember sitting with my phone, looking at her photos, and feeling this thing I wasn't proud of. It wasn't happiness for her. It was this tight, quiet jealousy. And then immediately I felt ashamed because she's my friend. I love her. Why do I feel this?
Yeah.
And I think I carried that shame quietly for weeks. I didn't tell anyone. I just kind of disappeared a little from our friendship. Not on purpose, but you know how you do that? When you feel something uncomfortable, you just pull back a little?
Yeah, I do know that. And I think that's really brave to say, Julia, because most people would never admit that. They'd just call it being busy.
Yeah. Oh, I've just been so busy. Busy avoiding my feelings, you mean?
Exactly. But honestly, what you described, that's so human. That's so real. And I think the reason people feel ashamed of jealousy is because we've been told it means you're a bad person. But it doesn't. It means you're a person.
That's the thing, right? Jealousy is just information. It's your heart saying, I want something like that too. That's all it is. It's not evil. It's just a signal.
Exactly. The problem isn't feeling it. The problem is what we do with it. Do we let it grow? Do we let it quietly poison how we see ourselves? Or do we get curious about it?
Get curious. I love that. Like, instead of, why am I so jealous? I'm terrible, you ask, oh, interesting. What does this tell me about what I want?
Right. You turn it from a judgment into a question.
Okay, listeners, here's a question for you. Think about someone you've compared yourself to recently. Instead of feeling bad about it, ask yourself, what does this comparison tell me I actually want? Write it down. Just for yourself. You don't have to share it, but notice what comes up.
That's really good homework already, and we're not even at the end yet.
I'm an overachiever. What can I say?
Okay, so I want to bring up something that I think is a little controversial. Can I?
Oh, Henry, going controversial. Yes, please.
So, sometimes comparison is actually useful. There, I said it.
Wait, what? No, explain.
Okay, so there's actually research on this. There are two types of comparison. One is called downward comparison, where you look at someone doing worse than you and feel better. That's not great long term. And the other is upward comparison, where you look at someone doing better and feel motivated.
So it depends on how you use it.
Exactly. If you look at someone successful and think, they're better than me, I'm worthless, that's destructive comparison. But if you look at someone successful and think, wow, that's possible, maybe I can work toward that too, that's actually healthy.
So the comparison itself isn't the enemy. The story you tell yourself about it is.
The story you tell yourself. Yes, that's it exactly.
Okay, I love that because it puts you back in control. The feeling happens. You can't always stop the feeling, but the story, the meaning you attach to it, that you can change.
And that's actually where the English lesson kind of lives today, I think. The language we use when we compare ourselves matters so much. Like, there's a difference between saying, she's so much better than me, and saying, she's further along in that area right now.
Oh, that's subtle, but it's huge. Better than me is about identity. Further along is about position. Position can change. Identity feels fixed.
Right. One makes you feel like the problem, the other makes you feel like you're on a journey.
Okay, quick spoken English practice. I want you to try switching the language. If you usually say something like, I'm so behind everyone, try saying instead, I'm on my own timeline. Say it with me. I'm on my own timeline. Go on, out loud.
Come on, say it. I'm on my own timeline. Even if you don't fully believe it yet, say it anyway. Repetition is how beliefs get built.
Oh, that's deep, Henry. Very deep for a Wednesday.
I have my moments.
Okay, so I want to go back to something emotional for a second, because I think there's a layer of this that doesn't get talked about enough. Comparison doesn't just make you feel behind. It can make you feel lonely.
Say more about that.
Like, when you compare yourself and feel like you're losing, you start to feel separate from people. Like everyone's at a party and you're outside looking through the window. And the worse it gets, the more you pull back. You stop sharing what's really going on. You start performing, showing only your highlights. And then nobody actually sees you, and you feel invisible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the saddest parts of comparison culture. It creates this silence where everyone is struggling quietly because nobody wants to be the one who admits they're not doing great.
And then you look around and think everyone else is fine, so you must be the problem.
But everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is hiding the same struggle, and we're all lonely together.
Oh, that's kind of heartbreaking when you say it like that.
It is. But knowing that is also kind of freeing. Like you're not uniquely failing, you're just human.
Yeah, you're just human. Okay, I need everyone to hear that sentence. You're not uniquely failing, you're just human. Can you write that in the comments? Seriously, write, I'm not uniquely failing, I'm just human. I want to see it. I want to see how many people need to hear that today.
Because someone scrolling the comments later is going to read your words and feel less alone. And that's a good thing to do today.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about why comparison happens, why it hurts, the two types, the language we use. Is there anything we haven't touched on yet?
I think the expectation piece. Like a lot of comparison happens because we've been handed a kind of invisible script by family, by culture, by social media, a script that says, by this age, you should have this. By this point in your career, you should be here. And if you're not following the script, something is wrong with you.
Oh, the script. Yes. Okay, who wrote that script? Can we meet them? I have some questions.
I think it's a group project. Society wrote it collectively, and nobody signed their name.
Nobody signed their name, and yet everyone enforces it. Your aunt at dinner, the internet, the neighborhood gossip.
Yes, all of them. Very committed to a script none of them wrote.
So, what do you do with the script, Henry? Like, practically?
I think the first step is just noticing it. Like when you feel bad about where you are, ask, is this what I actually want, or is this what the script says I should want? Because sometimes you feel behind on a race you never chose to enter.
Oh, that hit me. You feel behind on a race you never chose to enter.
Yeah. And once you notice that, you have a choice. You can keep running that race, or you can go, wait, actually, I don't even want this particular finish line.
And that's scary, because if you leave the script, you have to write your own. And that takes courage and a lot of uncertainty.
It does, but it also feels more like your life.
Yeah, it does. Okay, I think we should talk about something practical now. Like, what can someone actually do when they catch themselves in that comparison spiral?
Okay, so I have a few things. The first one is simple but powerful. When you notice you're comparing, just name it, out loud or in your head. Say, I'm comparing right now. That little act of naming it creates a tiny bit of distance between you and the feeling.
Like, you're not the comparison, you're the person noticing the comparison.
Exactly. You're the observer, not the feeling. That's a big shift.
Okay, what's the second one?
The second one is limit the input. If certain accounts or people consistently make you feel worse about yourself, it's okay to mute them. It's not jealousy, it's not drama, it's just self-care. You can love someone and still mute them.
Oh, the mute button. Genuinely underrated life tool.
Genuinely one of the best inventions of the digital age.
Okay, and third?
Third is replace the comparison with curiosity. Instead of, why don't I have what they have, try, what can I learn from how they got there? It turns envy into inspiration. Same energy, different direction.
Ooh, I like that. Same energy, different direction. That's almost like redirecting a river. The water doesn't stop flowing, you just change where it goes.
Exactly. You're not killing the feeling, you're giving it somewhere useful to go.
Okay, let's do one more practice moment. I want everyone to try this sentence. Ready? Say it with me. What can I learn from this? Just that. Short, simple. What can I learn from this? Say it like you mean it, not rushed.
Slow it down a little. What can I learn from this? Put a little pause in there. Let it land.
Because the pause is where the thinking happens. The pause is where you go from reacting to choosing.
That's the whole thing, honestly. Most of the pain in comparison is in the reaction. Slow the reaction down and you change the outcome.
Okay, we're getting close to the end, and I want to say something a little personal before we wrap up. Is that okay, Henry?
Always.
So, I think for a long time, I believed that if I just achieved more, I'd stop comparing. Like, once I get to that level, I'll feel okay. And what I've slowly learned is that's not how it works. Because when you get there, the bar moves. There's always someone doing more, having more, being more. The comparison doesn't stop when you succeed, it just finds a new target.
Yeah, the arrival fallacy. The idea that once you reach somewhere, you'll finally feel enough. But the feeling of enough doesn't live at the destination. It lives in how you relate to yourself right now.
It lives in how you relate to yourself right now. Henry, write that down, somebody.
Haha, I did just make that up, so maybe double check it before you put it on a poster.
Too late, it's on a poster.
Okay, so to bring it all together, comparison is natural. It's ancient. It's not a character flaw. But when it comes from a place of I'm not enough, it will always hurt. When it comes from curiosity, from what can I learn, what do I actually want, it can push you forward.
And the language matters. Better than me versus further along. I'm behind versus I'm on my own timeline and right now I'm learning to blank. Fill in the blank. Make it yours. I cannot wait to read them.
That's such good homework.
Right? Okay, one last thing. Next episode, we're going to talk about something I think is going to really surprise you. It's about doing the work even when nobody's watching, even when progress feels invisible. Because here's what we believe. Doing the work is the only way to feel truly proud. And we'll talk about how to build that feeling from the inside out.
That one's going to be really good. I'm already thinking about it.
Me too. Okay. Take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you soon. Bye.